Okay, so shout out to the Hot Sheet on Twitter. Go give them a follow, one of my favorite accounts. And so they have shared Billboard's Hot 100 top female solo artists of all time. Now, I've done videos on my account going through the 80s to the 2010s, so go check those out. Also, they're on my second YouTube channel, Anastasia25 Vlogs. And let's just get into it. At number one, Madonna. I know that she has 12 number one hits, and some of her hits include, I don't know if all these went number one, by the way, but like a Virgin, like a Prayer, Papa Don't Preach, for example. And I believe that she had a very successful run on like the dance charts and stuff like that. I don't know if that gets calculated into this or if it's just strictly the Hot 100. It probably says somewhere on this little blurb. But there's something there. And I believe that she has like the most songs to peak at number two of like all time. Number two is Mariah Carey. So she has 19 number one hits. She has the most weeks at number one with like 91 weeks or something like that. She has 28 songs that are top 10 hits. So you also have that. So if I were to guess, I honestly thought that Mariah would be a number one just because she has more number one hits and she has the most weeks at number one. But I wanted to look for more clarification as to, why the discrepancy and stuff like that. And they said like Madonna has like over 1,000,000 points over Mariah. And I basically said that Madonna's second decade, like on the charts, like I guess the Hot 100 was stronger than Mariah's second decade. So I guess it kind of like fares in there. And then they said that total points for songs with more than one artist credited are split proportionally between the artists. 12 of Mariah's top 40 are collaborations, which means she doesn't get all the points that are tallied, and that Madonna also has a more substantial amount of points beyond her top 40. And then also regarding that, they said that weeks at number one definitely help with points, but it comes down to total points from all songs' entire runs, not weekly points, and having more hits that chart and perform well can make a difference too. Mariah has a least number of entries among the top 5 artists. Okay, there's that. Number of collaborations also makes a difference, and one of Mariah's biggest hits is a duet style collab, which means she only gets 50% of the song's total points. What? She only gets half the points? Huh? And so, yeah, you definitely learn something new every day, and it's just interesting how they calculate these things, I will say. But, that is the answer to my question there and everything, so you do have that. At number three is going to be Janet Jackson. Now, she had 10 number one hits on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, such as All For You, I Believe Doesn't Really Matter. And yeah, she just really had a run from the Control era all the way through the All For You era. And All For You is like the most added song on radio. So yeah, she really had an amazing run at that time. So, shout out to Janet Jackson, one of my favorites. Number four, Whitney Houston. I know that she has 11 number one hits on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. I Will Always Love You was number one for like 14 weeks. I mean, the Bodyguard soundtrack was just very successful overall. So, she really had some hits to her name. And then next up is going to be Rihanna. So she really dominated the digital era. Like the 2010s really was hers for the taking. 14 number one hits. So definitely makes sense. She had her EDM era with songs like Where Have You Been? She had some great collaborations. This Is What You Came For, written by the next artist, Taylor Swift, was, successful for her in her own right. So, shout out to Rihanna. Number six, Taylor Swift. So she definitely had some hits such as Blank Space. She also had Shake It Off and All Too Well 10-minute version go number one. And overall, she has tied Whitney Houston with 11 number one hits, which is very impressive. Nothing to scoff at. So shout out to Taylor Swift. Overall, I think she does better on the Billboard 200 chart, but I think she's doing better now on the Hot 100 due to, her growing her fan base and things like that. So it's just really interesting to see how everything's changed because she started off, more so in the physical era, and then it went to, the digital era, and now we're in the streaming era. So, she's adapted well, I would say. And then next up is going to be Olivia Newton-John. And I know her hit Physical. I really needed to tap into her discography, but happy that she's this high up. I do enjoy her. So next up at number 8 is going to be Aretha Franklin. I'm very surprised at this just because at the era that she came out in, it was kind of just harder for her to be successful. And there's multiple reasons that kind of go into that. I know labels weren't as good as like counting sales and stuff as they are now. And yeah, I mean, Aretha had a career that spans for decades. And just to be as successful as she was is, truly achievement. So she had hits such as like Respect, I Knew You're Waiting for Me with George Michael. So yeah, she's just really been a juggernaut. And she had, success in the 90s with like Hurts Like Hell from the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. So I mean, for her to be so dominant for so long, and especially in the era that she came out in, I cannot stress that enough. I'm happy for her. She's definitely one of my favorites, a really talented singer, piano player, and songwriter, and she doesn't really get enough credit for what she's been able to do and all the people that she's influenced, from a Mariah to a Whitney. A lot of people wouldn't be singing if it wasn't for Aretha. Next up at number 9, Katy Perry. I mean, she had a run with the Teenage Dream era. She had Prism, she had songs like Dark Horse. She had like what, 5 number 1 hits on the Teenage Dream album. So, we don't forget. I will say that. And then rounding out the top 10 is going to be Diana Ross. She had hits such as I'm Coming Out. She also had a run with the Supremes, which I don't think counts on this overall. But yeah, I mean, Diana Ross, got to give her respect there. So that kind of rounds out the top 10. And then, just some quick other picks. We have Donna Summers, so shout out to her. We have Beyonce. I wonder if she will ever make the top 10. I believe she has like 8 or 9 number 1s solo. And so I really do love her. And, with Break My Soul going number 1, No Promo, I mean, that was really iconic. So you have that. I mean, Barbara Streisand and Cher makes sense because, again, decades spanning careers, so, credit to them. You have Pink again makes sense. Ariana Grande, I'm really happy to see that. Some Lady Gaga, Alicia Keys dominant in the 2000s. I mean, that just makes sense. I'm seeing some Toni Braxton, Britney Spears, of course, of course. I think Britney Spears has 5 number 1 hits. I love Britney, so gotta give her credits there. Miley Cyrus, Mary J. Blige. She only has 1 number 1 hit, which is going to be Family Affair. Olivia Rodrigo is doing pretty well for herself right now. Doja Cat, SZA, Billie Eilish. It'll be really interesting to see how these new artists are going to do, once their career has, been pretty established like 20, 30 years from now on this chart. And like, how is Taylor Swift going to move up on this chart? We will have to see about that. And this hot sheet account basically said that over time, Mariah probably will become number 1 just off the strength of All I Want for Christmas Is You. So I could definitely see that happening. But it's just going to be interesting to see how this kind of shifts over time. And it's just interesting to think of the different eras, how things were counted, who was able to get success where and when. But yeah, very interesting nonetheless. And just kind of figured that I would share this and my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments.